Right outside Tower Hill Station is this viewpoint of the Tower of London, and in the centre is this circle which gives you the history around the circle of all the main historical moments in London throughout the ages, starting off with the year 43 AD of Roman London. Well worth a look. Welcome to TM's London Walks and History. Walk number 4, Series 1. Today we are walking from the Tower of London to St Anne's Church, Limehouse, via the Thames path on the north bank. The Tower of London, no longer a home for the royal family and no longer used as a prison for dissenters or spies, but is used as a fortress still today to protect the crown jewels, which if you visit inside you can see. One of the most historic events to happen at the Tower of London is the storming of the tower in the year 1381 in the month of June by the Peasants' Revolt. Their aim was to find the Archbishop of Canterbury, Simon Sudbury. He was the King's Chancellor and tax collector. He was hated because of the third new tax in 4 years that everyone over the age of 14 had to pay. The Archbishop was found praying in the chapel. He was dragged outside, taken to Tower Hill and beheaded on a block with an axe. In April 1483, after King Edward IV's death, his 2 sons, Edward and Richard, aged 12 and 9, were taken here to the Tower by the order of their uncle, the Duke of Gloucester. The 2 young princes were then declared illegitimate, and that same uncle was crowned King Richard III. The 2 young princes were never seen again. It is thought that the 2 boy princes had been murdered. William Shakespeare portrayed Richard III as the villain. Years later, in 1674, 2 skeletons were found buried under a staircase in the White Tower. King Charles II was sure they were the 2 missing boys. After examination, the bones were found to be skeletons of boys aged approximately 10 and 12. King Charles II had the 2 skeletons removed and buried inside Westminster Abbey in the Henry VII's chapel. The gunpowder plot conspirators of 1605, led by Robert Catesby and included Guy Fawkes, were imprisoned here ready for trial. This is a gate under the Bywood Tower. Bywood, I imagine that means you needed a password to enter through here. This is the Royal Mint inside the Tower of London, where they used to make the money. In 1798, staff of the Mint were held up by armed robbers who got away with 2,805 guineas, approximately £1 million in today's money. This is St Thomas's Tower, which is above Traitor's Gate, which was the entrance coming from the River Thames for those who were state prisoners. And there is the Bloody Tower, as it is named, where they'll be kept waiting for their execution. This is the White Tower, built by William the Conqueror in 1078. It's William the Conqueror who defeated King Harold at the Battle of Hastings. And then when he entered London, had this tower built, which would scare the local populace into obedience. You can see how high the entrance door is into the tower, making it very difficult for enemy attack to enter. They would have had a wooden staircase which they could easily lift up inside the tower. This wooden staircase, though, is modern, it's not old.
They clip their wings so they can't.
The Conqueror's architect was Gundulf, Bishop of Rochester, and the White Tower bears more than a little resemblance to Rochester Castle. Much of the stone was imported from William the Conqueror's native country, France. The walls at the ground floor level are 15 feet thick, decreasing by the time they reach the upper levels to 11 feet thick.
Harold's army rifles in the north of this way. So what the Northern Army did, they got straight to work on building the castle. This was to be called Dependency.
One prisoner kept here in the Salt Tower created that sign of the zodiac. He was imprisoned for sorcery. The Tower of London has long since stopped being a prison, and certainly executions stopped many years ago. But in the First and Second World War, the tower was used briefly as a prison for spies of the enemy, and 11 German spies were shot by firing squad on the street below there, in between the outer and inner walls. Rudolf Hess, deputy to Hitler, was held here for a short time. Three English queens lost their heads here: Anne Boleyn and Catherine Howard, second and fifth wives of Henry VIII, and Lady Jane Grey, queen for only 9 days. Just a very short walk from the White Tower. Anne Boleyn was the only one executed by the sword. The others killed here were by the axe on a block. Is there a sadder spot on earth as this? Perhaps in the chapel of St. Peter, where they're all buried. So today's walk started at Tower Hill Station. We're crossing over and looking at the Tower of London, walking around and going under the underpass of Tower Bridge. Make our way and walk through and have a look at St. Catherine Docks. Make our way along St. Catherine's Way onto Wapping High Street, and we'll take the Thames path as much as we can. This is Tower Bridge, built in 1894. It may seem that it's much older, but that's because of its Gothic design look. We were here yesterday evening to witness the opening of Tower Bridge's raised drawbridge to let a tall ship through. And I'll insert that in the video here. Tower Bridge has a raised footway 142 feet above the River Thames. So St Katherine Docks took its name from the hospital St Katharine's, built in the 12th century. Should have said that St Katharine's by the Tower Hospital. Over there, that barge is powered by 18 oarsmen. It's the Royal Barge, used in the Jubilee 2012. Queen Elizabeth II named the Royal Barge Gloriana. A hospital, a church, and over 1,000 homes were knocked down to make way for building of this dock. But it was a pretty awful place before. This dock opened in 1828 with tea, rubber, wool, marble, sugar, ivory, tallow, all imported into multi-storey warehouses. That Marriott Hotel, the Tower, must be the ugliest looking hotel I've ever seen, but it's probably in the best position for a hotel I've ever seen also. Right here at St Katherine Docks, right beside the Tower Bridge and the Tower of London. The Royal Crown has been etched into this piece of perspex. This piece of perspex has come from what was to be the original monolith in Stanley Kubrick's film 2001 Space Odyssey, before they decided to change the monolith from this transparent monolith to a black monolith. This is an anchor from the ship Amsterdam, which founded off Hastings 200 years ago. Over 200 years ago. So this plaque says, this plaque commemorates 335 years of the tea industry in the City of London, which in its heyday controlled over 85% of the world's tea trade. And down here it says St. Catherine's Day 1985, set by Peter Drew. So Peter Drew must be the architect, designer of the remodelling of St. Catherine Docks as we see it today. Now this block here is the only original building from the original docks. All the other buildings around the docks were rebuilt to pay way for the rebuilding of the docks in its present design. The other buildings around the docks are offices, restaurants and some shops. This Dickens Inn was not in any of Charles Dickens's stories, but it was opened by one of Charles Dickens' grandsons. This granite seat has etched on it, you see there, etched carvings of some of the things which were brought into the docks when it was at its height. This granite etching shows that they brought into the docks peacock feathers as well as other birds' feathers. And over here, tortoise, to show that they brought in tortoise shells for sale. Or is it an ostrich? Whether it's an ostrich or a peacock, it's all feathers. A clean telephone box. Very rare sight here in London. One of the UK's first post office boxes, got the V on there for Queen Victoria. The post box started during her reign. This dock closed down in the 1960s. The entrance to the dock now too small to receive the ever bigger, newer container ships. And the trade was lost to ports like Southampton. Just beyond Thomas More Street, entering Wapping High Street, here used to be what was called London Docks, which opened in 1805, the year of Nelson's victory at Trafalgar. 3 times larger than St. Catherine's. London docks here received tobacco, rice, wine and brandy. Wapping High Street follows the shape of the River Thames almost all the way to Limehouse. The road was built around 1570 to link the legal quays in the city where ships could lawfully unload their cargo to new storage warehouses downstream at New Crane Wharf. This led to the large expanding maritime community of the East End. Here in the Hermitage Riverside Memorial Garden, it says, tens of thousands of men, women and children lost life and limb in the wartime bombing of London and other major cities. More than 1 million homes were destroyed. The most intense bombing occurred between September 1940 and May 1941 and became known as the Blitz, from the German Blitzkrieg, meaning lightning war. In the first 3 months of the Blitz, bombs rained on London almost every night. These apartments seem to have been designed so they look like they're on a cruise ship. My first thought is that this is a piece of art of a broken washer, but it's actually a part of a propeller, keeping it in tune with the maritime theme of this area. It's a beautiful clear morning this morning, but last night and yesterday pouring down with rain. This is Pier Head, a double row of Georgian houses facing each other across the garden. Originally built for officials of the dock company, the gardens cover the entrance to the old dock. Visible if you were looking from the Thames side. Here at the Town of Ramsgate pub at Oliver's Wharf, it is said that Judge Jeffreys, a hanging judge, was captured here as he tried to flee in a collier bound for Hamburg. He was taken prisoner to the Tower of London, where he died of liver failure due to his excessive drinking. During the period when convicts were transported to Australia, many of them were brought here and chained up in the cellar of this public house to await for their ship. Even at low tide, be careful walking down the steps here, because it's very wet and slippery all the time. No need to wash these steps, the River Thames does it for you. These steps at Wapping Old Stairs have been tested, and they're at least 17th century and very possibly much earlier. You can check online when the River Thames is at low tide, when it's safe to come. But always check the times, because the high tide comes in very, very quickly. It's great to come at low tide in the morning when you get the atmospheric mist across the Thames. And here at Wapping Old Stairs by the town of Ramsgate pub, you get a great view. There's the Shard and there's the Tower Bridge. So this is the Thames side of those pierhead Georgian houses we looked at just a moment ago. I've discovered that these white stones are chalk. They were brought up by ship from Kent because they were used to make the base of the buildings by here on the wharf, because they could be compacted, hit down to be flat, to make a flat bed at the base of these wharfs. And that's why we find so much of this white stone here. It's the deposits of the chalk. The Scot, Captain Kidd, a naval officer who, having been sent on a mission to catch pirates around the seas of Madagascar, turned pirate himself. Captain Kidd was hanged somewhere here in 1701. The last hanging at Execution Dock took place in the year 1830. The pirates were hanged somewhere along here. For maximum deterrent effect, the hangings were carried out at low tide and the bodies left swinging on the rope for 3 high tides before being cut down. People now go to work by Uber on the River Thames. That's an Uber boat.